Welcome back. Ryan Haggart joins us. A lot of people's priorities out there are finding a job. Kind of part of that American dream we hit on in the first hour is really, owning a home. That's part of the American dream. Maybe it's building the house of your dreams. But it all really does start with that stability of having a job. And Ryan Haggart joins us from KForce, who's actually taken on 3 major rebranding projects this year to really fully understand all the end results of their clients and helping people narrow their search to match up the right people looking for jobs to the right jobs. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Ryan, tell us just a little bit about KForce. It's a company I've heard of. I don't know a lot about, and kind of what you guys do.
Okay. Well, KForce has been in the local area for, we're going on about 13 years. We recently joined over from KForce from a company called Haggart, for those of you that are out there that may be familiar with that. We support local technology companies. We focus around what's called the software development lifecycle. So anything that touches that, anything from an analyst to a developer to a tester, project managers, anybody that's really focused around that development lifecycle.
What does that mean? I mean, that's like because we hear real estate cycle.
Yeah.
What is a software development life cycle?
So it's probably, I don't know very much about the real estate cycle, but it's probably the same idea in terms of, conception all the way through, the evolution of the entire project. So, coming up with the idea, the scope, all the way down to the people that are, coding it, and releasing it and managing everything in between.
And so, software development's certainly a big deal here in Seattle. I think it's becoming one of those hot spots. And so you guys are there positions that are actually being filled for the qualified candidates?
Oh, without question. If you look nationally, with the unemployment rate, it's pretty high right now. I don't know what the latest is, but I've heard it touching close to 9%, right? Where we are locally with an education with a computer science degree, we're a little bit under 5%. So, which
is actually healthy.
Very.
That's supposed to be where you're at. You're not supposed to be at 0.
Exactly. So there's healthy competition. The market is great for that qualified candidate that's out there right now. And, like you said, we are a great, hub for technology, living in .NET's backyard. And, there's a lot of opportunities out there right now. You
talked about, these computer science degrees, people being able to take on a task effectively. Certainly, if you're not have if you don't know computers, you're probably not going to get a job creating software. How are things at companies kind of changing though in terms of how they're hiring people? Because it's much more specialized, isn't it?
It really is. Before they would, you could be that independent, say, developer, front end, building web pages for your friends, things for like that, building their company web pages for smaller, painting companies or whatever it was, and do that for a few years and then transition that into a major enterprise type company. But with the way technology is changing, with the way everything is becoming more specialized, you really have to have that strong background, but also siloed into particular development structures.
And so it's not just, hey, I created a website, now let me get a job. Because I think when you say software design, this is no longer where you're putting circles and squares and how it's going to look.
Exactly.
This is much deeper.
Exactly. Yeah. They're really going to want to know, okay, so if you're designing this, what tools are you using? What languages are you specialized? What were you doing? If it was a team of 10 people, what part of the project were you directly affecting? How was the work? Were they coming to you? Were they coming to somebody else? How did that team break up? And they really want to find out if you were really the one making it, or designing that page or developing whatever that application is.
And since Seattle has these people who can fill these gaps, is that, you talk about a 5% unemployment rate in your industries, that's very different than most parts of the country.
It really is. The benefit that we have in Seattle, again, is, we have Microsoft. You also have Amazon. We have Google. We have these, and then not only that, but you have companies that support them as vendors. So there's a lot of different opportunities for all levels and all skill levels to come in, whether you're looking for that full-time job where you are the expert and you've been doing it for a long time, or if you're looking for a contract role to maybe learn something new and gain some more skills and see if you are good for that company or what the project is.
And so, people are kind of have choices. It sounds like if you're good,
Without question. I mean, if you're talented, if you're a talented developer, if you're talented at what you do right now, there's competition. There's a lot of it. There's everything from signing bonuses to extended vacations added on to package deals, things like that. There's a lot of opportunity for the
signing
candidates.
bonuses and extended. It sounds like an athlete. You know, here's your signing bonus. We'll give you a whole off season.
Yeah, except for they get throw in the Pro Bowl and they might join out.
Talk a little bit more about the job market in Seattle specifically. What are some things that are kind of affecting it? Because I mean, you might have this specialization, but if you have a choice, maybe what are people choosing based on?
Well, really location. It comes down to, of course, the toll. Everybody's, talking about the.
We've talked about the toll. Tether's favorite topic.
I have a feeling it's a lot of people's favorite topic, but that's the biggest. Before, people were open to it. They would live in Seattle. They were open to coming to the east side. They were open to whatever it was. But now with the toll, if you're in Seattle, you want to stay in Seattle. You don't want to battle that, and especially you don't want to go around the other way. You don't want to get stuck in I-90 traffic. And
yeah, we look from the studio at I-90 all day. I mean, it is. I tell you, when the Mariners start playing, it's going to be. It may not. I don't think anybody goes to those games anymore after about July. But traffic is playing a bigger role. It sounds like kind of what you're saying.
It really is. I mean, that expense, it's just added on to it all. People are really starting to think about that. Adding it to your salary request or your salary demands is definitely helping with that. We actually met with a gentleman today that brought up a good point, though. The east side compared to Seattle. If you're living on the east side and you're commuting to Seattle, you're going to end up paying for parking. The benefits, if you're living in Seattle and you're commuting to the east side, there's probably a lot more parking. So you're going to end up with that cost one way or the other. It's kind of
gas. They're going to get you somewhere, right?
They're going to get you. There's no question about it.
And then you'd even talked something that I don't know anything about. This difference between a .NET and an open source job.
Yeah. So, there's two different, I guess, the two biggest competitors right now are Microsoft with their .NET, with that framework. And then you also have Java, which is obviously a popular buzzword, and open source, where they're not, whereas Microsoft has ownership over some of the .NET things, you have to pay for the service. With open source, it's free. And so a lot of companies are seeing a lot more benefit with working with that than to pay, for your Outlook service or whatever it is. And you can design that on your own. And in the past, those two had clashed. Now with some changes with the tablet market, with certain companies preferring not to use other companies' technologies, there has to be a lot more flexibility when it comes to what you're designing, what you're working with, and things like that. So there's a little bit more of a mesh between the two, and so it's becoming a little bit more difficult, again, to find that expert that can do both sides of it, that can really handle, that old not old, but the Microsoft technology, as well as incorporate it with some maybe
person who's using Windows 97 isn't really in it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the speed at which some of this the technology changes it's lightning fast.
Every day. I mean, it changes literally every day. There's a new online, meetup group where they all get together and everybody's creating something new. There's things like Github where you can go and literally put your code out there for everybody else to test, see, and tell you what you did wrong, what you did right, give you feedback. And everybody's communicating that way in that world a little bit differently than they ever have.
And it sounds like people aren't, you talk about GitHub, and people are actually putting their code out there. It sounds like people aren't as guarding of some of their stuff. I mean, they're trying to get more help.
Exactly. I mean, there's just so many different ways. If you think about it, it's like painting. It really is an artistic work. Everybody can paint a picture. There's 100 different ways to do it. And so I think a lot of developers and a lot of these people have realized that it's better to get that second opinion, or it's better to hear how he did it and maybe incorporate that into my life a little bit and see if he's right or wrong, or just when he tries to tell me I'm wrong, I can argue with him.
Right. Then you get into a chat room and who knows what happens after that.
Exactly.
Ryan, thanks so much for joining us. Again, that's Ryan Haggart with KForce Technical Staffing. And, if one of your priorities is to go get a job in the tech field, as Ryan talked about, it's a highly competitive market, and it's really worth getting into, but you're going to need certain skills, maybe different than you would have previously, just because it is becoming so specialized. We have to go to break, but when we come back, we are going to continue the conversation on a little bit more technical aspects of real estate and potentially buying a house and renting part of it out. My name is Ben Brashen. You're listening to Brashenomics.